In the heart of World War II, amidst the chaos and deafening roar of battle, one man walked onto the battlefield armed with nothing but his faith and a medical kit. His name was Desmond Doss, and his story is one of the most incredible tales of courage you will ever hear. This wasn't a soldier who fought with a rifle. This was a man who fought to save lives, even those of the enemy he was supposed to hate. Desmond Doss was a devout Seventh-day Adventist. His faith was the bedrock of his life, and two principles guided him above all others: thou shalt not kill, and he honored the Sabbath from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday as a day of rest and worship. So when the draft notice came after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Doss found himself in a difficult position. He was a patriot and wanted to serve his country, but he could not, in good conscience, take another human life. He enlisted as a conscientious objector, specifically requesting to be a medic. He believed that while everyone else was taking lives, he could be there to save them. This decision was met with immediate hostility and ridicule. In basic training, he was an outcast. His fellow soldiers saw his refusal to carry a rifle as a sign of cowardice. They called him names, threw things at him while he prayed, and tried to get him kicked out of the army. His commanding officers saw him as a liability and tried to have him discharged for being mentally unfit. They even court-martialed him for refusing a direct order to carry a rifle. But Desmond held firm. He endured the harassment and the abuse, believing that God had a purpose for him. He successfully defended his right to serve as an unarmed medic, and eventually he was shipped out with the 77th Infantry Division to the Pacific Theater. He served in Guam and the Philippines, where his bravery quickly silenced his critics. Time and again, he would run into the thick of battle, completely exposed, to drag wounded soldiers to safety. The very men who once mocked him now knew that if they went down, Doss would be the one to risk everything to get to them. His reputation as a fearless and compassionate medic began to grow. But it was on the island of Okinawa, in the spring of 1945, that Desmond Doss would face his ultimate test. His unit was tasked with capturing a formidable 400-foot cliff known as the Maida. The Japanese had fortified it with a network of caves, machine gun nests, and booby traps. The Americans nicknamed it Hacksaw Ridge because of the way it chewed up soldiers. The fighting was brutal and relentless. On May 5th, the Americans launched a major assault. They managed to reach the top of the ridge, but a ferocious Japanese counterattack sent them reeling. The order was given to retreat. As his comrades scrambled back down the cargo nets they had used to ascend the cliff, Desmond Doss refused to leave. He looked out over the blood-soaked plateau and saw dozens of his fellow soldiers, wounded and left for dead, scattered across the battlefield. He was all alone, surrounded by the enemy. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of cordite. Machine gun bullets whizzed past him, and mortar shells exploded all around. Any sane person would have run for their life, but Desmond heard the cries of the wounded, and he couldn't abandon them. He began to pray. "Lord, please help me get one more." That became his mantra. With that prayer on his lips, he ran into the storm of steel. He found a wounded soldier, administered first aid, and then single-handedly dragged the man across the rocky terrain to the edge of the cliff. There, he fashioned a special rope sling he had devised and carefully lowered the soldier down to the safety of the men below. Then he went back. Again and again, he crawled on his stomach through the mud and gore from one fallen soldier to the next. He treated men with horrific injuries, shattered limbs, gaping chest wounds, severe burns. He worked tirelessly, without rest, food, or water. The Japanese soldiers were hunting for any survivors, often using bayonets on the wounded. Desmond had to be silent and stealthy, moving like a ghost through the battlefield. He did this for hours, all through the night and into the next day. The men at the base of the cliff were stunned. They would see the rope lower, and another wounded soldier would descend from the smoke-filled ridge above. They couldn't believe what was happening. It seemed impossible that one man could be doing this. They thought he must have surely been killed, but then another soldier would come down. He didn't just save Americans. He worked for an estimated 12 hours, a lone figure of mercy on a landscape of death. By the time he was done, he had single-handedly rescued an estimated 75 men. 75 souls who would have otherwise perished on top of Hacksaw Ridge. But his ordeal wasn't over. A few weeks later, during another assault, Desmond was severely wounded himself. Instead of calling for another medic to risk his life, he treated his own wounds and waited for 5 hours to be carried off the field. As he was being carried away on a stretcher, they came across another critically injured soldier. Desmond rolled off his stretcher and told the medics to take the other man first. While waiting for the medics to return, he was hit again, this time by a sniper's bullet that shattered his arm. Using a rifle stock as a splint, he crawled 300 yards over rough terrain to an aid station. His war was finally over. On October 12, 1945, President Harry S. Truman stood in the White House and placed the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest award for valor, around the neck of Corporal Desmond Doss. He was the first and only conscientious objector to receive the Medal of Honor in American history. President Truman, holding the medal, told him, "I'm proud of you. You really deserve this." I consider this a greater honor than being president. Desmond Doss's story is a powerful reminder that heroes come in many forms. Courage isn't always about carrying a weapon. Sometimes it's about the conviction to stand by your principles, no matter the cost. It's about compassion in the face of hatred and selflessness in the most selfish of circumstances. The quiet, unassuming medic who was once mocked for his beliefs became one of the greatest heroes of World War II. A man who charged into hell to bring a little piece of heaven back with him. His legacy is not in the enemies he defeated, but in the 75 lives he saved, and the countless more they went on to touch. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please give this video a like. And subscribe for more incredible stories of courage and humanity. We'll see you in the next one.